the Secretary of the Board on June 6, 2016, to the Home News Tribune and the Clerk of the City of New Brunswick. The time and location of this meeting and all meetings of this body are posted in City Hall, 78 Bayard Street. Roll call, Mr. General.
Mr. Hush. Mr. Ortiz.
Here.
Mrs. Sadowski.
Here.
Mrs. Shukaitis.
Here.
Mrs. Solis.
Here.
Mr. Spencer. Ms. Varela. Mr. Caldwell. Mrs. Seawood. We have a quorum. Ms. Badia's here too. Got it.
Thank you. Please join us in the flag salute. Reminder, the next monthly Board of Education meeting will be held on Tuesday, November 15th, 2016, beginning at 7 p.m. at this location, New Brunswick High School in the auditorium. Before we continue with our agenda, we have some words from George.
Yes, I'd like a moment of silence for a distinguished member of our community that passed away recently, Aldridge B. Cooper, a friend of mine, a colleague on the New Brunswick City Council for many years. He was City Council President. He was mayor. He went on to be Vice President of one of the Vice Presidents of Johnson & Johnson. Was a distinguished alumni and graduate of this high school in class of 1955. He was all-state basketball. He went on scholarship at the University of Connecticut. He was a distinguished member of this community and be sorely missed by his friends, his family, and the New Brunswick community. So I'd like a moment of silence for Al and his family. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next will be presentation on the park scores. Dr. Ansel.
Good evening, Board President Seawood and members of the board. This evening I'm going to be discussing the results of park assessments, and we'll be talking about comparison of results from the spring of 2015 and the spring of 2016 administrations of New Jersey's statewide assessment program called PARC. Next slide, please. The year 2016 marks the second administration of the Partnership for Assessment of Readiness for College and Careers, the acronym PARC. And the first opportunity to compare year-to-year results, as the following slides will show. Students took the PARC English Language Arts and Literacy assessments in grades 3 through 11, and they took the PARC Mathematic assessments in grades 3 through 8, as well as end-of-course assessments in Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. Next slide. The PARC measures student performance in 5 levels. Level 1 is not yet meeting grade level expectations. Level 2 is partially meeting grade level expectations. Level 3 is approaching. Level 4 is meeting. And level 5 is exceeding grade level expectations. Next slide. So this slide is showing you a series of comparisons across the entire state of New Jersey in English language arts and literacy. And the way in which you can read this data is that in each of the 5 performance levels, we're showing you a comparison of performance across the state in the year 2015 versus the year 2016. And so what we want to be looking for when we're reading this data is that in the first 2 columns, we want to see the numbers going down. So we're looking for a decrease in the lower levels, and then conversely, in the upper levels, we're looking for an increase. So next slide, please. So what we've done for you here is to summarize that data. So again, this is across the entire state of New Jersey in English language arts. And so what you can see is that there was a significant decrease in the number of students who were in those 2 lower levels in 2016 as opposed to 2015. And as you're looking at some of those grade levels, the decreases were most significant in grade 9 and grade 10. Grade 11 was the only grade level in New Jersey that did not have a decrease in those lower levels. And partial explanation of the reason for that is because a number of 11th grade students were not included in this cohort because they were taking AP exams instead. And then if you look over in the other column, you can see that across the state of New Jersey, there were increases, that's what we were looking for, in these 2 upper levels of performance. And again, grades 9 and grade 10 were where the state of New Jersey overall saw the most significant increases, and grade 11 was the only grade that did not have that increase that we were looking for. Okay, next slide, please. So now what we did is the same comparison for our own students here in New Brunswick. And so first we showed you the summative data, and then next slide, please. This shows you the analysis of what happened in New Brunswick. So in grade 3, we stayed the same as opposed to the state that decreased. In grade 4, we had a 6% decrease in those lower levels of performance, which beat the state. In grade 5, we had a 2% decrease. Grade 6 had an increase, which did not meet the state. Grade 7 was a 5% decrease. Grade 8, 5% decrease. Grade 9, 2% decrease. And then grade 10 was a 10% decrease in those lower levels of performance. Grade 11, again, was the only one that didn't meet that same level of performance. Now, if you look over on the other side of that table, we're now looking for increases in the 2 upper levels of performance. And in New Brunswick, we had increases in most of our grade levels, except for grades 5 and 6, where we stayed flat. We did have a good increase in grades 4 and in grade 8. We had a 4% increase in grade 9, 6% increase in grade 10. The only grade level, again, that did not have the increase we were looking for was grade 11. Next slide, please. Okay, so now we're zooming back out again to looking at the entire state of New Jersey for mathematics. And so this gives you the overall performance across all 5 levels of performance. And then, next slide. Here you can see the specific data analysis. So again, this is for the entire state of New Jersey in mathematics. We had decreases across the board at all grade levels in those 2 lower levels of performance. And then we had increases across the board in levels 4 and 5 across the entire state of New Jersey. So now let's look at New Brunswick. Next slide, please. So this shows you the overall set of increases or decreases across all grade levels at all 5 levels of performance. And then next slide. Here's how New Brunswick did specifically at those 2 lower levels. We had a 2% decrease in grade 3. We had 8% decrease in grade 4, a 9% decrease in grade 5. Grade 6 had an increase. There were decreases in grade 7, 8. Now, Algebra 1 had a decrease of 1%, and then our one real significant anomaly was a 28% increase at those lower levels in Algebra 2. And Geometry had a 25% decrease. And I'll just take a moment to mention that a couple of reasons that account for that really significant increase in Algebra 2 is that, first of all, the cohort that was testing at that, in that course was half the size of the cohort the year before, which skewed the percentages a little bit. Another reason for that anomaly is the fact that the shift in Common Core standards between the old Algebra 1 and the old Algebra 2 to what we now are covering in those courses under Common Core standards is a very significant change. And so one of the things we've been working on the last year and a half is significant changes to our Algebra 2 curriculum. Now I'll shift over to the other side of that slide to look at increases in New Brunswick for mathematics in levels 4 and 5. So we had increases across the board in all grade levels, 2% in grade 3, 11% in grade 4, 5% in grade 5, 3% in grade 6, 1% in grade 7, 11% in grade 8. Algebra 1 was an increase of 2%, Algebra 2 was 4%, and then in geometry was where we had the only area where we didn't perform as we were hoping. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to just shift our emphasis slightly to talk a little bit about the numbers of students who were tested. And in New Brunswick, the difference between students who were testing in the year 2015 versus 2016 in English language arts was fairly low differential in most grade levels. The one where we had a decrease was in grade 4. The rest of them were all less than 100% difference. Next slide. In mathematics, though, there was a slightly more significant differential. Grade 4, again, was one where there was a decrease in the number of students. And then if you go down the columns to Algebra 2, that was that difference that I mentioned a moment ago, the difference of students in the number of, in the cohort, that was almost half the size of the previous cohort, was part of what accounted for that difference in the data. So all in all, in mathematics, we had a total increase of 555 students tested in math. So one of the major reasons why this gets a lot of attention is because of the issue of participation in testing. So next slide, please. This is a study that we did to look at the rate of refusals. And so, as you can see, the difference between 2015 and 2016 was overall fairly positive, that we had far more student participation and a decrease in refusals to do testing. The only two anomalies were at McKinley and Redshaw, and those were accounted for by some issues that we've identified and we're already taking actions to correct. But across the board, the rest of the schools all showed a significant decrease, and so we had only 20 non-participants in this past year, which I think is very significant because it goes to show the significant appreciation for what we can do with the data, that I think parents are beginning to realize. Teachers are doing a great job of communicating to parents how much use there is in what test data what we can do with that test data. So to share a little bit of that with you, if you could go to the next slide, please. Some of the questions that we asked ourselves about PARCC data. First, how will we use it to identify strengths and gaps that exist in our curriculum and instruction? Some of the answers to that question: we're doing a significant amount of data analysis at the district, school, and classroom levels. And we have a very valuable new tool at our disposal this year, which are what are called evidence statements, which is a whole new instrument in our toolkit that we've never had available, that allows us to identify what underlies those questions that we need to be looking at in our curriculum to make those changes in instruction that will make students better able to perform not only on the PARCC, but as they do critical thinking about those standards in their day-to-day lives. Next slide. Another question that we've been asking ourselves is, how will we use PARCC data as a tool to address areas in need of improvement or enhancement? So answers to that include that as we identify gaps in our curriculum, we're filling those with appropriate lessons that address those areas of the standards that we're missing or which needed more emphasis. We are rewriting all of our assessments in English language arts and mathematics in order to be more PARCC-like and more rigorous. And we are providing increased remediation during intervention periods. Next slide. And then one more question we asked was, how can we provide additional resources and support for our educators to meet the learning needs of all of our students? And some answers to that are that we're providing more professional development in data analysis and in the use of evidence statements to administrators and to teachers. And we're placing more emphasis and providing more training on questioning techniques, on reasoning, and on other types of critical thinking. Next slide. So as I said, we're trying to provide as many resources for our parents as possible. And so this week we're sending home the individual student score reports. And so those have explanations for parents about how to interpret their child's results. And there are additional resources that help with that process that are at the links that are shown here, and those links are posted on our district website so that anybody who would like to explore those topics further can find them very easily by going to the New Brunswick website. And then, in addition, as we begin the process of parent-teacher conferences during the next week or so, all of our teachers are going to make a review of the student report's primary topic of those conferences to discuss what they mean with parents for guiding instruction in the classroom and to help parents understand where their children are performing and how to help them at home. And so that concludes my presentation, and I thank you for your attention.
Okay, we want to thank Dr. Ansel for that informative report. Yes, we appreciate the information. Continuing with our agenda, Dr. Aubrey A. Johnson, Superintendent's report. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the September 20th board meeting.
So moved.
Roll call, Mr. General.
Mr. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Shkaitis? Mrs. Solis?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer? Mrs. Seawood?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Now we'll continue on with Dr. Johnson.
Yeah, good evening. Just to report out for district-wide suspensions, we had 30 suspensions for the month of September. District-wide reportable HIV cases, there were 12. Student enrollment is at 10,278. Student attendance at 96%, and staff attendance at 98%. Also, I'd like to point out that sometime in December or January of this upcoming school year, the district will be undergoing a full quality single accountability continuum review, which many of us know as QSAC, which is a review that is done by the state of New Jersey. As part of the process, we, the district, formulated a committee of people that provided feedback for us to actually complete a DPR. A DPR is the district performance review, which were 5 areas that we needed to complete. Members of the committee included board members, Mr. Spencer and Mr. Ortiz, a member of our cabinet. We had 2 teachers as well as our NBA union president. In the review, the 5 areas that we will be reviewing, or the state will be reviewing, is instruction and program, fiscal, governance, operation, and personnel. We conducted our own self-assessment, and I would like to just read scores to you and let me just remind you, this is our self-assessment, so these numbers may change. But we did a thorough review of where we believe we stand on each of the 5 indicators. In terms of instruction and program, we gave ourselves a 62%. In terms of fiscal management, 100%. In terms of governance, 100%. In terms of operations, 100%. And in personnel, an 80%. During this process, this performance review revealed a lot of strengths and challenges for the district, and I think it's well timed, as we already have begun the process of addressing some of these that's really also in line through our strategic plan. And with our strategic plan in place, we really feel that we will get stronger in the areas where we are doing well. Lastly, I would like to just speak about, I'll have Mr. Janarone share a little bit of information in regards to our last board meeting from the public, where there were some concerns regarding transportation. I would just like to address the community in terms of what we have done thus far. Mr. Janarone?
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. So last board meeting, after the board meeting and during the board meeting, Mr. Tyru, the transportation coordinator, got down the names of 19 families consisting of 27 students that we had classified as walkers and not providing transportation. That following week, he contacted 15 of the 19 families, and he was able to provide transportation. What we did do is provide additional transportation for those parents that were right on the border. We have been providing transportation down at Nielsen and Tabernacle Street. We added an additional shuttle there, and also at Pine Street, which is on the other side of George's Road. So we were able to help out all those families. Out of the 27 students, we provided transportation to 17 of them. The 10 that did not get transportation, they all live less than 1 mile from the schools that they're looking to go to. So we did not provide them transportation. But anybody who was needed it in terms of that extra mileage, we did accommodate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
There should be a motion to approve the superintendent's report.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Ortiz.
Yes.
Mrs. Sadowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Yurkaitis.
Yes.
Mr. Lees.
Yes.
Mr. Spencer. Mrs. Seawood.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you, Mr. General. Student representative report, Ms. Susan Padilla.
I would like to thank our superintendent, Dr. Johnson, and the Board of Education for the opportunity to make the following report. The month of October has been filled with plenty of clubs beginning to meet again, as well as important events such as Spirit Week, progress reports, and Back to School Night. Within this month, students took part in school-wide activities for Spirit Week, including pep rally, the homecoming football game, and the homecoming dance. In terms of academics, 1st through 4th marking periods are now weighing 25% of the students' entire grades here at NBHS. As the first marking period is coming to an end, students are seeing significant changes in their grades. Back to School Night here at NBHS was a complete success. Parents were able to get a feel about all our different programs, and the feedback for its tour-modeled layout was incredibly positive. Ms. He, a current math teacher at NBHS, was recognized as an outstanding educator by the district by Walmart corporate offices. PSATs will begin on Wednesday, October 19th, and teachers have begun preparing their students for it with special PSAT student guides and practice tests. NBHS is currently being visited by university representatives to talk to our seniors about what their schools have to offer. Representatives from schools such as Rutgers New Brunswick, University of Maine, and Rutgers Newark have already stopped by. Representatives from Rutgers Camden, Monmouth University, and Montclair State University are expected to arrive this week of October 17th. In terms of student activities, in order to raise money for their class, the freshman class club has been having class staff bagel sales every other Wednesday. The yearbook committee also has had a couple sales in order to benefit their club. The vending machines at New Brunswick High School were put in a raffle where certain clubs got picked to benefit from the money made by the machines for the school year. As a result, ShopRite Junior, wrestling, girls volleyball, the Hispanic Culture Club, and the freshman class club all won the raffle. Volunteering has taken over the month of October. For example, New Brunswick Ciclovia took place on October 2nd, and a good amount of our students showed up to help the organization. With the help of generous contributions, the Key Club has just finished collecting food items for their annual food drive. Alzheimer's walks and the Special Olympic Fall Games are scheduled for the end of October, which our students have already begun talking about. In terms of Spirit Week, it took place last week, running from October 10th to October 14th. Students got to participate in showing school spirit with Superhero Day on Monday, Twin Day on Tuesday, Throwback Day on Thursday, and Spirit Day on Friday, where each class had to wear an individual color. Overall, Spirit Day was a complete success due to our students showing out with face paint as well as senior class shirts. Pep Rally was filled with the utmost excitement coming from each class section. Every fall sport was recognized. The cheerleaders and the school dance company got to perform a routine, and the band and choir did a great job with their wonderful performances. Our students definitely enjoyed the energy in the room. The homecoming game was filled with our students in the student section as they cheered on the boys for our 39-14 win against Edison. Our homecoming dance was this Saturday, October 15th, and a vast majority of our students showed up to have fun. This concludes the NBHS Student Representative Report for October 2016. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Mr. Ed Spencer, Facilities Committee Report.
Okay. Regarding the Paul Robeson Community School for the Arts, we're proceeding as scheduled. We'll see what happens as we go along. Right now it's going very well. The district-wide water testing, we completed the necessary work on the last 4 drinking water locations, including retesting. At this time, we have addressed all of the locations that required remediation. Madam President, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Spencer. The Policy Committee Report, Mr. Ortiz.
Yes, Madam President. We've had 10 policy and regulations. The policies are mandated for the most part, and the regulations are either added regulations that didn't exist or updated regulations to the policies. I need a motion to accept policies and regulations.
Second.
I'm sorry, we have those actually on the consent agenda later on,
Okay.
okay?
So that's all I have to report now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ortiz. The Athletic Committee.
We met briefly with our athletic director, Mr. Lowry, earlier this evening, and he's kind of pulled in about 5 different places. He was at the girls' volleyball game, which I also watched for quite a while, and they were doing pretty good, and I don't know the outcome. They kind of fell behind. And the boys' soccer team at present right now is playing Monroe for first place in the red division of the GMC. So everybody send good karma over to the field so that our guys pull out a victory. Beat Monroe. And our ladies and all the other athletic programs, I saw the track team practicing today. They were running around the school, even in the heat. And our girls soccer team, I know I've seen them play briefly at the stadium. Not as good a season as they had last year, but they're out there and they're participating, and that's what really counts. I too attended the football game since it was homecoming, and I am a zebra, and it was really exciting. And the one thing I can say is if there's not scouts looking at our quarterback, he has an arm that is unbelievable. A little rough in the first half, a lot of penalties back and forth. Both teams were evenly matched, but in the end, that young man threw that football, and our guys caught it, and it was really an exciting game, and I was very proud of them. Our pep band was there, it was homecoming, and it was a really great crowd. Students really came out, and I was really excited about that. The seniors were doing a fundraiser in the snack bar. So if you get to any of the games, please go to the snack bar and buy some hot dogs and things like that. And that's about all I have to report, but I do have a bank reconciliation, and I need a motion to accept the bank reconciliation report.
Second.
Mr. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Shukaitis?
Yes.
Mrs. Solis?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer? Mrs. Seawood?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you, Mr. General. The public relations, oh, I'm sorry. I guess I'm in a hurry. Curriculum Committee report, Mr. Ortiz.
Yes, Madam President. In the curriculum activity, we had presentation given by Dr. Andrea Fontanez, and it was on the Newcomer Spanish High School Equivalency Program. This is a program where we're taking newcomer students, bilingual students that are not up to par in their native language, Spanish, or whatever ESL language they're in. They're not up to par into their grade. We're taking them in, testing them, and giving them a rigorous program in their language. So it'll be like a high school, and most of the classes will be done in Spanish or whatever language. And there will also be a couple hours where they learn English, but the predominant hours are on learning Spanish, taking their classes in Spanish to bring their grade levels up to where they should be. This is not a program where they are going to be transferring. They could eventually get the high school diploma in the grade level in Spanish. Am I missing anything? That's basically what the program was. And the rest of the meeting went on resolutions, which are part of the consent agenda items. Nothing else to report, Madam President.
Thank you. Public relations.
Public relations wise, the choir is, our choir, New Brunswick High School Choir, is going to be singing in Atlantic City at the school board convention next week. I wanted to talk, Susan, our student board rep, reminded me that Miss He was honored. She was very surprised. I was able to get an hour off from work, and I came up, and she couldn't figure out at first why all these people were walking in the room. I have to tell you that I was very, very impressed. The students were working very, very hard, and she was using every bit of technology available and known to man, and they were really working. As I was looking around the room, the students were just really engaged. Ms. He always professes her love for her students, and the students were professing their love right back. When she was awarded the $490, because that's the average that teachers spend out of their own money for classroom supplies. So that's what she was awarded by Walmart. The students were hooting and hollering for her. Then my eye caught on one wall in her classroom, her students that have taken the AP Calculus exam, starting out from around 2000 on up to 2016. And what caught my eyes, it started out with some students 4, some students 3, a couple of students 5. In the last 3 years, her students that took the AP exam have not scored below a 5. Impressive, folks. And then she had her students' SAT scores, math scores. I was really blown away. So don't ever doubt there's not a lot of good things going on here in New Brunswick High School. Just step into that classroom. And then she shushed us all out of that room because she was busy, she was teaching. And guess what? We got out of there real quick. The other thing I wanted to talk about is Woodrow Wilson School is having a clothing drive. They did one last spring. They're doing another one on Saturday. Starting at 10:30, they will have a tent up. You can drop off linens, any article of clothing, and it's a pound by pound. Their goal is to get 2,500 pounds of items. They will not be given to where they're shredded. They will be given to folks that really need these. So if you have some coats, winter things, get them to Woodrow Wilson. They will gladly take them. And I did my fall cleaning, and I have quite a bit of bags for them. So it happens at a good time when you're making the changeover from summer to winter. It's a good time to get rid of things that other people can use, but maybe you can't. And that's really all I have for public relations tonight. Again, I beg of you principals, send me information. I want to know you all want to know what's going on in your school. So please get it here, we'll talk about it, we'll shout it from the rooftops, but please get me that information. Thank you, that's all I have to report.
Okay, thank you. The Ed Services Commission, I don't think Dale left a report. Okay.
Mr. Cole did not leave a report, but let me just seize the opportunity.
Okay.
I took it upon myself on, I believe it was Tuesday, to go visit the Service Commission and to visit the students to be serviced there. And as an educator, sometimes you think you know a lot and you know everything. It was a unique learning experience for me. It was humbling to see our students and the type of support they were receiving from those teachers, the warmth, the engagement, and to walk into those classrooms and shake those students' hands, and just to see them smile and to respond and tell them your name or grab you or pull on you. I must say I wish Mr. Cole was here today, and also to speak to Dr. Finkelstein. I have not stopped thinking about that field trip, and I'm going to encourage a lot of my principals and other educators to go visit that site, because it will give you a real rounded vantage point of what education truly is. So it was my first visit. I need to go back and learn more in terms of what we need to do to support all students. And you know, my eyes get watery because you really think in your shell that you know it all, and you don't. So just want to respond to that experience.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. So as you all can see, we're all quite busy. We want to commend the administration, the staff, the students for the level of activities, for their participation, and we're off to a good start for the year. Looking forward to good things throughout this year. We'll move on to public comments.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Charles Cradaville. I'm the editor of New Brunswick Today, community newspaper here in New Brunswick, as you know. First question is, does the board have any comment on the $2 million settlement that it recently agreed to pay to a former employee?
Mr. Hendricks.
Yeah, we're still finalizing the agreement. We will probably have a comment next month.
Okay, thank you. Does the board have a position, or do different board members have different positions on the charter school that was recently approved for New Brunswick and Franklin? Did you oppose it, support it? Did you take any action, have any input?
We have no comment on that, and we're not asked for input.
No comment, okay. I was intrigued by the discussion about transportation. I wanted to ask, did anybody at the board happen to take my suggestion to ask Mr. Robert Paulus if he could help contribute to restore the courtesy busing?
No, we did not. And in your litany at the last meeting, I didn't want to correct you, but that Robert Paulus has nothing to do with the Paulus family, that we're political leaders and business leaders in this community for decades. Different family altogether.
Different Paulus altogether.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I've got a lot to learn about them. I do think that it's good news that those families that came out and needed transportation, some of them were able to get that as a result of coming to the meeting. I think that there were about 400 students that were affected by the cutbacks. So I wanted to ask, is there any plan at all to help the families that maybe couldn't make it to the last board meeting or didn't want to speak up or didn't happen to know that they should call Mr. Tyru? Is there going to be any additional expansion of this, or is it only those, I guess, 17 students that are getting the buses?
Each case is evaluated individually, and coming to the board meeting doesn't get anything. Families need to contact the principals. If there is an ongoing issue with transportation. And at this point, I also want to say your headlines were misleading. There was not a change in policy.
Pretty sure Mr. General talked about a change. They cut back the courtesy busing. Is that not accurate?
There was not a change in policy.
So students who used to get busing last year don't get it? That's not a
If you
change?
are aware of any family that wishes to discuss it or pursue it, we encourage them to work with the school.
I will do my level best to spread the word. Just to be clear, they should call the principal and not Mr. Tyru? Or would they be better served contacting the transportation person?
Either one.
Either way. Okay. Does somebody have Mr. Tyru's phone number?
Check the district website.
Okay, I will. Thank you. Is there any update on the what was discussed back in April with I believe a complete retraining of security guards and changes to the policies to deal with violence? Has there been any progress on that? I've attended every meeting since then. I haven't heard a word since those meetings.
I don't recall indicating there would be complete retraining of security guards.
I believe back then the president of the board was Ms. Sadowski, and I believe she mentioned something like that.
I'll answer that. In the beginning of the school year, there was retraining on the security guards and orientation to the new security guards. And I had spoken with Mr. Mangarella, and training is ongoing as needed. And they were retrained after that incident.
Thank you. Can you tell me how many faucets in the district have been remediated so far, total?
All the faucets that were listed on the website.
So how many were remediated?
13 of the 14, one of them we took out of service. It was a fountain in the back of the stage at the middle school. Wasn't deemed to be necessary if you're talking to the building department.
Okay. And I recall some comments made about faucets that were not as high were still going to be addressed in some way. Was that any action taken about other faucets, or just those 14 were the only ones that action was taken?
As Mr. Spencer mentioned, we've just completed the ones that were required based on the action levels, and there's intent to move forward with roughly, there's about 12 other ones.
Great.
Which I think we want to address and try to get those levels down as low as possible.
Okay. And those faucets are currently in service now?
The drinking fountains, and yes, are currently in service. They are below the action requirements of the state. And no further action from the state's end would be required, but as the board mentioned, we're going above and beyond and plan to address that.
Thank you. I recall some comments at the last meeting about an event with Congressman Pallone. I believe the board member said that newspaper articles had omitted some things that he had said, and that his comments were not accurately reported in any news media. That's a quote from you, Madam President. And I found it interesting that you were addressing those comments to me, because I was not at that event. I didn't cover that event, and I actually wasn't invited to that event. So I would suggest that if you want accurate coverage of stuff that's going on in the district, you should invite New Brunswick today to participate, to be a part of it. I usually get invitations to Congressman Palone's events, but this one, for some reason, we didn't get the invitation. So in the future, just respectfully, please include us, and we'll do our best to tell the full story, because I know, not everybody can be every place all the time. We're actually here in New Brunswick, and so we'll come to any event that you want to promote, but we actually were not invited to that. We didn't cover it, so I thought that was a little strange. I also have to ask, over the summer, Madam President, you spoke, gave a speech calling for everyone at these meetings to show dignity, honor, and respect for one another. And unfortunately, at the September 20th meeting, Ms. Seward, you made an inappropriate remark to me. And you still have to apologize to myself, to the public, to the kids that were present, your fellow board members, and everyone who watched at NewBrunswickToday.com on our video. And I believe this comment was so inappropriate that the person who was in charge of translating didn't translate it, and just said that, the board president made an inappropriate remark. And I would like to know, my question is for all the other board members, do you think that President Seawood and her remark were, do you think that her behavior and her remarks have been appropriate for a board president? Maybe you could start by asking Ms. Sadowski and Ms. Yukaitis, or
Excuse me, you're to address your comments, your concerns to the board president during the meeting, and we have no comment.
You have no comment on the foul language you used at the last meeting? You got to do better than that. I mean, the other board members should be very concerned, and I'll just be frank with you. I think you've made a poor choice of who the president of the board is. Since Ms. Seawood took over in May, she has taken small problems and made them worse. And she has treated members of the public without respect.
Thank you. Those comments are out of order, and plus your 5 minutes is up. Thank you very much.
Mr. Hendricks, this is
You must relinquish the floor.
Shame on you. You really, the people deserve better. The 10,000 students in this district deserve better. This is ridiculous. Pick a new president, resign. Some of you guys have been on this board way too long, but at least the other board members are smart enough not to say that to someone else. That is ridiculous what you said, and you should own up to it. I take responsibility for what I say. You don't. You should take responsibility for the offensive remarks, the disrespectful remarks that you made to a member of the public.
You're being repetitive. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I'm not getting anywhere with it because...
You know that, so sit down, please.
Well, pick a new president, and then maybe we'll have a board that deserves a 100% rating. That's a real joke. 100% rating for governance. It doesn't take into account the way you treat the public and the way that these board meetings are run. This is a joke. We deserve better. Thank you.
My name is Carlos Ramirez, Brunswick Today's reporter. I have some questions from parents. We received notifications that Roosevelt has been having lines and sanitary issues in
If a parent has a concern, they need to contact the building principal.
According to parents, they did in the school. Principals and vice principals or any staff that was there, they said that all their questions had to be made to the superintendent.
I didn't understand what you said.
So according to parents, there are sanitary issues inside the schools. Some students have lice on their hair, and that's a concern to parents that their kids have not been infected. And from my knowledge, students have to meet health standards in order to be inside the school. And due to the lack of air conditioning in the schools that, according to Roosevelt, does not have any.
Excuse me? You're launching into a litany of complaints. It's my understanding lice has nothing to do with sanitation. And there are steps to take to remediate the problem on a personal basis. The parents need to, one, consult the nursing staff, their pediatrician, and it has nothing to do with the air conditioning.
Well, it's a sanitary issue because
It is not. You can check.
Years.
You can check.
She has spoken to
I'm
me.
not going to argue with you in this regard. You can check the CDC website. You can check with the health department, the state health department. You can check with the county health department. You can follow that up by having whoever is talking to you about this consult medical personnel.
But isn't it the board's responsibility to resolve these issues that students and parents are dealing with?
Excuse me?
Well, it's in the board's responsibility to address these issues that parents are concerned with. Because some of them, where it's not their fault, other things are.
It's not the board's responsibility. It's a parental responsibility. And if parents aren't aware of precautions, remediation efforts that need to be taken, they can consult with our nursing staff, their pediatrician.
All right. Another question is from reports that the New Brunswick Middle School Vice Principal will be taking position as the New Brunswick High School Principal.
We don't discuss unconfirmed reports or personnel issues.
All right. Another question is why hasn't Mr. General, the business administrator, responded to my email regarding a request for a copy of the notification that was, according to the board, sent to every parent?
A copy of what?
A copy of a notification that, according to the board, is sent to every parent notifying them about the changes in transportation.
It's on the website.
Well, he hasn't responded to my email regarding a copy.
Why should we respond to an Oprah request when it's on the website?
Because it's the law. You're out of order.
I'm not speaking to you.
Well, he's required to answer, and it has been almost a month.
Can you print it off?
Let me answer. Mr. Ramirez, I apologize, but I didn't see that email about that. You guys send me many Oprah requests, and I answer them all. My suggestion is that you guys fill out the Oprah forms, not only email, but send them to me in the mail or fax them or whatever. I'll give you my fax number, but you can't expect me. I get 200 emails a day. Maybe it went into my spam. Maybe I didn't see it. I didn't get it. but I don't recall seeing that email. As soon as I see these things, I get them right to you, always within the 7 days. So now that you've said it, I'll go and look for it, find it, and you're looking for the letter that we sent to parents?
Yes, a copy.
Sure, I can get that letter to you within the next couple of days.
All right, thank you, that'll be all.
The consent agenda, resolutions A through AI. Need a motion?
Second.
I want to do the consent agenda. Mr. Ortiz.
Yes.
Mrs. Sadowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Shikaitis.
I abstain.
Solis.
Yes.
Mr. Spencer.
Yes, but abstain on O.
Mrs. Seawood.
Yes, abstain on.
Motion approved.
There's one add-on resolution. To approve a New Brunswick Middle School student exchange trip to Fukui, Japan through the New Brunswick Sister Cities Association, whereas the New Brunswick Board of Education provides a variety of extended learning opportunities to students and staff, and whereas the New Brunswick Board of Education cooperates with the New Brunswick Sister Cities Association to provide students and staff with a cultural exchange, and whereas New Brunswick Middle School is requesting to send 6 students and 3 staff members listed below to Fukui, Japan from November 5th, 2016 to November 13th, 2016. The people listed are Jeremiah Clifford, principal, Victoria Jacks, teacher, Carmine Traveris, literary coach. Now therefore be resolved that the New Brunswick Board of Education approves the student exchange trip to New Brunswick Middle School students and staff and the New Brunswick Sister Cities Association from November 5th to November 13th at no cost to the district. Need a motion?
We need a motion.
Yes.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Ortiz.
Yes.
Mrs. Sadowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Shikaitis.
Yes.
Mrs. Solis.
Yes.
Mr. Spencer.
Yes.
Ms. Morella.
Yes.
Mrs. Seawood.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you, Mr. General. The Finance Committee report. Ms. Patricia Sadowski.
I need a motion to accept the finance report.
Second.
Mr. Huff. Excuse me. Mr. Ortiz.
Yes.
Mrs. Sadowski.
Yes.
Mrs. Shikaitis.
Yes. Abstain from page 16.
So noted. Mrs. Solis.
Yes.
Mr. Spencer.
Yes, but abstain on page 4 and 12.
Say that again, please.
4 and 12.
Ms. Morella.
Yes.
Mrs. Seawood.
Yes. Abstain on page 4 and 12.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Resolution for closed session. Whereas the Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 10(4)-6 provides that certain matters of the public body may be discussed in closed session, and whereas the Board of Education intends to discuss matters as follows: personnel matters, matters of attorney-client privilege. Now therefore, be it resolved that the aforesaid subjects shall be discussed in closed session by this Board of Education and administrative staff, and the minutes of said closed session discussion will be made available to the public when the reasons for the non-disclosure in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act no longer exist. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sadowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Shukaitis?
Yes.
Mrs. Solis?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer? Yes. Ms. Varela?
Yes.
Mrs. Seawood?
Yes.
We are in closed session.